Hey guys, Leanna here. I have a request for today's video. Let's see how this works. And this is just, me being me. And I don't know what that sword was, but cool. But some of you at this point may have seen the various articles and debates and things like that about the depiction of women in The Witcher 3. Now, the articles I have seen are either written by men, nothing wrong with that, don't freak out, or responses, usually by men, to comments about Anita Sarkeesian's tweets on the subject. And this just reminds me again of this weird rut we've gotten into regarding discussions of video games from a feminist perspective. And it's that we boil down feminist thought on video games too often collectively to one woman who's the face of one company. And that's not how, on no other issue do we collectively take such a reductive approach to an issue. It's really frustrating, and I do come at this from a place of frustration in that there are others of us equally passionate, care about games just as much, if not more so, and we're struggling for funding. In fact, it's
as if he fell from
all the money is being sucked up, thrown at one place that, already has more than enough money to produce the content that they are producing. And
taken by surprise, but they fought off the attack.
Sorry, Geralt.
Need more
This is frustrating because feminism in games has
Separately,
become
these tracks are older. Somebody left the camp before the
a
attack.
debate about Anita Sarkeesian, and that's not fair to anybody, including her. When you're doing an article on a topic, the rule book for journalism, for lack of a better term, dictates that you get multiple opinions on the subject. Triple source it. Get 3 different opinions at least on what quote unquote women think of this game. Instead, it's articles, and there's nothing wrong with these articles on their own. I don't want anybody to feel like I'm slamming them, because I'm not. The articles that have produced, there's nothing wrong with those articles. The problem is that it stops there. And that's what's so frustrating. It's like, all right, you think Anita Sarkeesian's wrong on these issues. But here's the thing. If you're a guy, and this is just a statement of fact, let me flip this around and say, I'm female, obviously. Well, I guess it's not so obvious in this day and age. But I can talk about, masculinity and depiction of masculinity in games from, an academic or observer perspective. But I can't tell you what it's like to be a man reacting to a depiction of masculinity in a game. And that's what's lacking from our discussions of things like, for instance, the calling Ciri gendered slurs in The Witcher. The issue is not whether or not it's realistic. The issue is not whether it happens in real life or not. The issue is whether or not it's being handled in an appropriate way that allows women to have just as much fun in games as men, as, large generalized groups. And what some people are trying to say, and I'm not one of them, it doesn't bother me in the same way that it does other people. Do I have a reaction? Yes. Is the reaction different for a woman hearing those words as a man? Absolutely. Now, I've been playing games all my life, so maybe I'm just kind of numb to this. And that's why I'm not totally prepared to just absolutely dismiss it. I didn't have a problem with it in Batman Arkham Asylum or Arkham City. I don't remember which game Catwoman was in. Because
Shot him as he fled.
that takes place in a known world. It's basically our world, and those insults exist. I think in a fantasy realm, you have to self-define a little more and own that choice. And I think in a fantasy world, you can't really say, well, it really happens. Does it happen in this world? In the world of The Witcher, yes, it does happen. Now, the responsibility on the game developer is to handle that in a mature and nuanced way. And these are the conversations that are not being had because everything's, analyzing Anita Sarkeesian 140 characters at a time. And I never know what to do in these situations. It's very hard because I know Anita Sarkeesian as a person, and she has feelings, and she has an absolute right to her opinions. I think, however, that gamers deserve a variety of opinions that don't agree. I think that we deserve to hear from more women, especially more women who have made a point of making themselves knowledgeable about games as games. Anita Sarkeesian has one set of tools that she uses. She uses her tool set. And she should keep going on using that tool set.
Kept going.
But, just the same way that I feel like games should be examined from, an artistic perspective, sociology, anthropology, all these schools of thought should be applied to games. In the same way, different schools of feminism should have an outlet in the media that is funded to discuss these things. And right now I see a lot of people saying, now I'm not saying we shouldn't discuss this. This is an important thing to talk about, but I'm not seeing anyone think it's important enough to fund it. Where Anita Sarkeesian has succeeded, where the rest of us have failed, is through funding. And yes, she did that through controversy. The question is there actually any other way to do it? Because I don't see it happening. I don't see anyone, any developer, anything like that going, we think this is important, so we're going to fund an outside, unbiased party, and we are going to accept their opinion on our games and others. We may not necessarily agree with them, but we think that the diversity of thought is important. We will consider it. We will not necessarily be bound from it. That's what we have to see on all these issues. And it would be great if we didn't have to fight this in the public sphere. If we could actually have internal dialogues and direct discussions so we don't have to annoy players with this really heady, incredibly dense stuff that means a lot to people who care about game design and the inner workings of how a game is put together. It's driving players crazy to continue to have these discussions out in the general media. We need a place to have these debates where players don't feel like they're having to overthink it. It is our job to overthink these things. It is. But it's not... It's the player's prerogative to just want to have fun. It's absolutely fair for them to go, I just want to turn my brain off and not thinky about this too much. And so I think we're failing players on that measure. I mean, yes, one could say, well, they don't have to read this stuff. Where's this stupid horn? And it's true. They don't have to read this stuff. But when it becomes this big crap my pants shitstorm, of course they're going to be drawn to it. They're drawn to the scandal. And, these articles are written on these sites to draw clicks. And like I said, go ahead and write that article. I think there's been some interesting points brought up. But too often, it's Anita Sarkeesian versus some male reporter. And that's just not the same. So I challenge I challenge these companies.
Now where'd that Archer go?
You don't have to agree with
be one of
Anita.
y'all
I don't
Mars
agree
men.
with Anita.
Now where'd that
But
Archer go?
It's
Must be
not.
one of y'all Mars
Stop
men.
talking, Geralt.
Now where'd
Thank
that
you.
Archer go?
It's not that. Ah! Oh
Must
my
be one of y'all
god.
Mars men.
You
Now
know,
where'd that Archer
I'm on a
go?
rant, Geralt.
Must be one of y'all Mars men.
Stop it.
Now where'd that
Okay,
Archer go?
so I have a challenge to various outlets and things like that. Don't agree with Anita? Fine. You don't have to. But give other female and feminist perspectives, because they're not the same thing. Give some of the rest of us a turn. Because Anita's not the only voice. She may not even be the best voice. She's just the best funded voice.